much how to get in there, but you have a shortcut on your devices. So if we can kind of go through this process, or we don't really have to go through this process. When you're using Company Inspector, you do have to be connected to the internet. So you do have to be connected to the internet. So that's the biggest thing. The link is already saved, so just, it should be saved with Google Chrome. So either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, those are the best browsers to use. But on this outline, it does tell you how to get to it, just in case, something happens, you lose the link or something like that. The shortcut, it'll tell you how to get in there. Before I get started, though, does anyone have any questions or any concerns or anything before we get going? Okay, pretty quiet, so I'm going to take it as a no. But if you do have a question, feel free to jump in there to let me know, so I'm not like the only one talking. Okay, so to get started, we're going to be working on your site. So when you get into the Company Inspector, it does look like this. It's called Company Inspector, smartphone pages. They're all the same thing. This is what it looks like. There are a couple different ways that you can start inspections, and I'm going to show you how to do that. On this page, you have your search occupants and view and pre-plan, and you can start inspections this way. So this is when you're searching through all of the occupants within your Mobilize database. I'm starting inspections that way. You can also work off of the schedule. So I know that the stations and departments, they're like divided onto particular days, and it's kind of like you're just going to be working off of those days. So you can definitely do that when you work from the schedule. And then this current inspections is those inspections that you started but not completed. So in order for an inspection to be considered complete, there is a finalize button at the end of the inspection, which I'll show you what that looks like. And then once you click that, that is what actually sends this inspection from the website, from the smartphone app to the website for it to have that final review before it's actually sent out to any contacts that are set to receive the inspection. Okay. And so the other thing is when we're on this page, you'll also notice this little horizontal menu. We call it the hamburger menu, bun, patty, bun. So that's one of the menus that you also have here. Okay. And through this menu, you can also get to different parts of the site, just like here. So search occupants is the same, current inspections, and then the inspection schedule. Okay. So the first, so that pretty much covers the first couple exercises, actually. The third exercise, which is where we're going to start, is completing an inspection, searching through all of your occupants. Okay. So when I go to search occupants, I'm going to go there first. Okay, so this page, this is searching through your occupants. Now, it's always great to make sure you clear your filters before you get started, because it does hold on to your previous searches. So right now, I have in my little funnel here, my little filters, when I click on that, I see that it filtered for my last search. So last time I searched on Grimes Street, which is my last name. And so that's what it's showing. Okay. So just keep in mind, it's always good to clear your fields first. I'm going to be working on some addresses that are on the street Grimes, because I just set those up as kind of like our test addresses. I've also created some test addresses that are on Testing Street. So if you want to kind of follow along with me, or if you want to, try this out later on, you can do so using the Testing Street. Those are those same testing occupants that I'll delete later on after the training. Okay. Any questions so far? Does it make sense? Oh, we got one more who joined us, so great. Okay. So when we're on this page, again, I'm going to be working on Grimes Street because that's the ones I set up with my last name. And so when we look on this page too, we're going to first work on 99999. So if you want to work on that address with me, you can. It's a Walmart on there. So if I was to filter for just 5 nines, and again, this is just however it's easier for you to use those filters. But it can kind of affect your results if you don't clear those fields first, because sometimes you may have something, in another area that may not show you right away. So just make sure you clear the fields first. So the first thing we're going to work on is Walmart, and I'm going to search with the 9s. I can also just search by the occupant name, and I should have the 2 addresses here. So again, this is one of those addresses I use to set up as a testing address that you can feel free to complete inspections on. Okay, these 999s, and then the name of the street is testing. Okay, so when you're on this page, the first thing right here, the little magnifying glass, that's if you're wanting to view the pre-plan information. So when I click on that, it'll give me a lot of the location information, occupant information, like where the lockbox is located, what's the property use type, who's the owner. It'll give me structure information, what is the building made out of, just different areas or different things that you can look up, but you can't edit this. So this is just to view that pre-plan information. Okay, so you're not going to really need that. I mean, you can also, always look at it if you would like. But to start the inspection, we're going to actually click on Start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this, Start. Now it gives me this prompt to say, does Walmart still occupy? So is this still the tenant that's here? And so I'm going to say yes. So later on, I will show you how to handle an occupant or business or tenant, an occupant that's no longer there. So maybe you get there, you're working off of your schedule, and you get there and they're no longer there, the space is vacant. So that's one of the exercises that we'll go over later. But for now, we're going to say Walmart is still there. So I'm going to select yes. Here for the start inspection, it's going to ask for the name. So you would select which one that applies to you, which shift and which station, however it applies to you. But I have my little name here, so I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And then for the inspection type, company inspection, which is the only, not sure why this is all highlighted, which is the only inspection that you can actually complete. So you'll just make sure you select the inspection type, and then we can go ahead and say save and next screen. Now, once I get here, it's kind of like a two-step process where you're walking the building, updating your pre-plan information, then later on actually completing that inspection, citing any violations that are necessary. So when we're on this first tab, we have the location and occupant information. So when I scroll down here, I can see, the address, I can see the street. Some of this information may be, if it's grayed out or like the little dotted lines, it just means that your department's decided they don't want you to be able to edit that field. So that's what that is. But the other fields you can edit. Okay. So if I wanted to scroll down a bit, I can update the information. We have a couple different sections here. So the building or structure name or building or structure information falls below here. And this is that information that pertains to the building itself. So you have how many stories it is. If there's a lockbox, I can say yes, there's a lockbox, maybe in the front of the building. I can say what type of construction, what type of extinguisher. So maybe Walmart, the building itself, the structure itself has a wet pipe system. I could say that. And then I have quite a few other fields. So you can go ahead and update any of these fields here. And it does hold on to it, so the next time you do the inspection, it'll still show there. Okay. So then you have the occupant information. So this is what pertains to the particular occupant. So you have the property use type, you have occupant class, and so forth. Now there are some fields that are repeated. So up above we had a building lockbox. Here we have an occupant lockbox. So if there's something that pertains to just the occupant, just to that specific occupant, then you can record it under the occupant area. So if there's a lockbox that's just for this particular Walmart, I could say yes, check the box and enter that lockbox information. There's also an occupant extinguishing system. So the points of this, a good analogy is if you have a strip mall and there is like a deli, and a flower shop. Okay, so the entire building may have a wet pipe system, but that deli may have a hood system. Okay, so since the entire building doesn't have the hood system, it's only specific to that occupant, then I could record that hood system at the occupant level. Okay, so that's why some of the fields are repeated as far as like the lockbox or the extinguisher system. It's what's specific to the occupant that does not apply to the entire building. Okay, and so you have quite a few fields here. If it applies and you can enter that information, you can feel free to do so. And while we're on this structure, the occupant location and occupant information, are there any questions that make sense as far as the fields being repeated? Are there any questions in general on this tab, this first tab?
This is where we say yes or no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, y'all speak up.
Y'all hear us now?
I hear
I can
you.
hear you now.
No questions.
Where's the click vacant? Where was that at again?
Oh, I'll show you how to do that.
Oh,
That's going to be in a later exercise.
is that us? Hang on, we got a call. Alright, we gotta go to that call.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. And I'm sorry, my dog just barked. I'm working from home, so sorry about that. Okay. So we can update our, our location and occupant information. Once you're on this tab, you can click that Save and Next Screen. And just be careful with these bottom buttons because sometimes it can be you don't have to save the page and it just says Exit, and then it will take you out of the inspection. So just be aware of these buttons because they can be a little misleading. So I've updated my information. Let's say where I'm done. I can go ahead and say Save the Next Screen. And here we are. So now I can update any contacts, make sure that I have any contacts. If I need to edit the contact, I can click on the pencil icon next to the name and I can, make that change, enter that information there. Now you'll notice when you're on this tab that you have a couple different things that could be confusing as far as the contact type and then that contact role / job description. So contact role / job description is their role, their job within the company, their company. But this contact type is how you categorize this particular contact. Now the purpose of this is, let's say that later on your department needs to find a list of all of your billing contacts. They can run a report for this, report to show them all of the billing contacts. So again, your contact type is how you categorize this particular contact in case you need to run a report later on. Now, within the Mobilize, within the smartphone pages, those areas that have like that red bold letter, burgundy bold letters, font, those are required fields. So when you add a contact there, you will have to enter the phone number that's required. Okay? Now, scrolling down just a little bit more is this contact email. So if you want this inspection report to be automatically emailed to this particular contact when it's committed, which again, that's when after you finalize the inspection, it will land on the review screen for your admin to kind of give it that once over and commit it. That's what we call it, committed, just that final review. And once they do, at that point, that's when it's sent out to any contacts. So you can enter that person's email in here. And again, I just entered mine just kind of for the purpose of this class. But also, if you want them to actually get to receive the inspection report, you have to check this box too. So not only just entering their email, but making sure that box is checked. Okay? So if I made any changes or any updates, I could just click make those changes and then save and return, and that'll take me back to the contacts tab. If I were adding a new contact, I would just click on this new contact button, and I can go ahead and enter, their first name, last name, enter their role, enter their contact type, same thing, phone number, enter their email, and then check that box if I want them to receive the inspection report. Okay? And this again is the contacts tab. Just making sure that your that you have a contact set to receive this inspection report. Okay. So any questions with that? Does that make sense as far as the difference between the contact type and the job description, and also the checkbox, making sure that box is checked so that it'll send out, be emailed any contact questions with that process?
Station 3 has no questions.
Station 9 has no questions.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we have, we've gone over the contacts. And then, so once you're done with that, then the next step would be to actually walk the building and cite your violations. So I'm going to go to step 3, which is your checklist. So the checklist is broken down into chapters. Once you click on the chapter, that's what brings up any of the codes that are on your short list for you to take a look at, okay? So let's say that we're walking the building, and in the electronics area, we're seeing that they have some extension cords that are not used correctly for those TVs up there. So where would we go to find that particular code violation? Which chapter and which code?
Building services and systems.
Thank you. Okay. Perfect. And so once you're in this area too, let's say that you're looking at the codes here, but you're not exactly sure what it says, like the full text of the code, then you can click the view button, and then that will open up the full code. So you'll be able to see what the full text of the code. Okay. Now also too, when you're looking in here, if it has like this little carrot top, then that just means that this is a custom title. So maybe the code just had a title that said like general or something really vague. So it was changed to be a little bit clearer. So give you kind of an idea of what the code actually says. So that's just what that means, that little carrot top there. Now, so let's say, okay, we're going to cite our extension cord violation. So what I would do is just click this little icon under the failed option. And then here it opens up those details, comments, and where I can enter a picture, I can insert some comments and so forth. So the way to do that, let's say that depending on your device, it may not automatically open your camera. If it doesn't, then you can just pin the camera to the taskbar at the bottom, and then that way you would just click on the camera, which would open the camera, take your picture, and then you can upload it. Okay. So if you are following along with me, you can take a picture, whether it's the ceiling, the floor, yourself, your neighbor, it's perfectly fine. And then you take the picture, then you'll say upload photo, and you can choose that file. And so mine is just kind of a blank picture, but I can go ahead and save it. And then once I upload that picture, then I can exit out. You can upload more than one picture. That's perfectly fine too. So I'm going to X out of here. And then I can also go ahead and insert any comments, and I can also insert the full text of the code. So if there are template comments, then if I click here, it's going to allow me to click on that. And really all these template comments are there comments that were entered on the website that are just kind of your typical comments that you may put down when you cite a particular violation. So it just saves you time so you don't have to type this out every single time. So I can just go ahead and say insert before or after, and that's just insert before or after the cursor. Before or after the cursor. So I insert before, and then that just puts that in there for me so I don't have to type it out. I could also insert the full text of the code if I wanted to. And so if I go into actions, insert full text before or after, I can say maybe before, and now I have the full text of the code. So there's that full text that's here, and I have my my template comment that I've entered in there. Now, when you do put those in there, whether it's your comments or your full text, you can edit that. Like if you didn't want it to say all of this, you could take some of this out, or even with your template comment, you could edit that. So if I wanted to say discontinue the use in the electronics department, I could do so. So you can edit those particular violations or edit those comments. So now that I've done that, I can go ahead and save it. And so now it'll show here a little 1 in red. So that's letting me know that I've cited 1 violation within this chapter. And so if I needed to go and edit that particular text that I've entered, then I have here this little legal pad, and it has the little lines in there. It lets me know that there are comments there. And then the camera icon lets me know that there's a photo there, at least 1 photo there. If I had made a mistake and didn't want this violation to show, then I could click the X and that would remove that particular findings and information that I've added. Okay. So does that make sense? Are there any questions with citing our first violation?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Come out.
Thank you. Okay, so now we can go ahead to cite another violation. So let's say that in the deli, they do not have the extinguisher that they should. So which chapter will we go in for that?
Chapter 9.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So once I go into chapter 9, I see my 2 extinguishers, so I can go ahead, if I wasn't sure which one it said, then again I can click on that view button, and then that'll let me see what that full text of the code is. And so I could go ahead and fail that item, and then again I can upload a picture. And then I could save, and then X out. And then here again, I can add a template comment. I can insert that in there. And it looks like X's are with, maybe 2 extinguishers. I could add the full text if I wanted to. And I could edit that if I needed to. If I wanted to take some of this out of there, I could. But that's pretty much how you cite that violation. Then I'll save. Okay. Now let's do one more for this particular, let's say that there are, in the staff lounge room, they're not using the adapters correctly, the multi-plug adapters. Where would we go for that?
Excuse me, Miss Candace.
Yes? Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. How do you open up the camera again in order to take a picture?
Yeah, no problem. No worries. So once you cite on, click failed items, once you cite something for that particular violation, you'll just click on the camera. If you don't have, sometimes the devices will open up the camera, but if it doesn't, you may have to go into your device, like search for your camera, and then once you open it, you can pin it to the taskbar, and then just kind of have it there, and it'll open it up, take the picture, and then you can upload it.
Okay.
Sorry, hopefully that makes sense, because some of the devices are a little bit different. I'm on a laptop, so it doesn't open for me.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and remove this finding. Now, because there are some, so on the smartphone pages or company inspector, however we're going to call it, it does not break down the violations based off of the location, but you can, if you want to add, let's say that maybe we found another issue with the extension cords, maybe in the staff lounge area. You could still put that in the notes. So you can say that it was in the electronics department. You can put another note and you can say electronics department and the staff break room. So you can say that, in your comments. So when you go back, you don't have to guess where the location is. So definitely feel free to do that. If you need to, if you see a violation that's in more than one area, you can put those notes in your comments. So, that the occupant, they'll know, and then also when you go back, it'll be easier for you to be able to tell where you cited that violation. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then let's say we're done. So we've cited our violation. We cited 3 violations. And then we put notes in for one that there are 2 of the same violations in 2 different locations. So we added that in our notes. So then we'll go to step 4. So again, remember those buttons at the bottom that I was talking about? See, it's highlighted in blue, but it's not save the next screen. It's exit. So this would take you out of the inspection. So just be careful with that button. Okay, so then we can just go ahead to the return date and comments. So we don't have to save anything on this page. So when I go to return date and comments, it'll let me know that there are violations there, which I thought I had 3. Sorry, just one second. I thought I had. Or maybe I'm thinking of 2 within the extension code. I'm not sure what I did or which one I missed, but okay. So return date and comment. So it'll tell you how many violations are there. When you do have violations, a reinspection date is required. So in order to enter that, you could click on that little calendar and just push that date out. However it applies, I know it's a little bit past 14 days. So you can just go ahead and put your reinspection date in there. Now, if there is a comment that does not apply to a specific violation, you can insert those comments in there for questions. If I could spell, that would be great. So for general comments, you can enter there if it doesn't apply to a specific violation, and then that will show on the inspection report, and I'll show you where. And then also, now if there's something that you want the admin to see before when they do that final review of the inspection report, whether it's, I wasn't able to enter the building, or there was a violation, but I didn't see that particular violation in the short list. Any notes that you want the admin to see, you can enter it there. So any changes I make on this page, I do have to click Save and Next Screen on this tab, or on this number 4. So I click that, and then it'll take me to the signature page. But before I do that, any questions on the return date and comments?
No, ma'am.
Okie doke.
No, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So then once we go to the signature area, you can go ahead and enter that person's name. Have them sign, save. Okay, and then under the inspector name, I can click on that actions, and it'll automatically put my name in there. And then I can sign it and save. Okay, so you can capture those signatures. The signatures aren't required, so if there was a case where that person wasn't there, you can skip that part of it. You don't have to get that responsible party, and you can capture your own signature. So then after that, number 6 is the report, kind of like a review of what you've entered. So it does give you this violation summary. You can see which violations you cited in your comments. Now, this can be a little bit confusing as far as when you're going to review it. So even though it gives you all these different options, the option that's going to be sent out to the contact is actually the exception report. So this is how it's set up on the website. So even though it gives you the options here, there is one particular report that is sent out, and it's based off of the settings your department chose on the website. So when you go ahead to show the contact there, the report, then you'll just want to make sure you're clicking the exception report. And that just means that it shows you all of your field violations or field deficiencies. Okay? So this is what the inspection report would look like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, just 1 second. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I don't know why she's so fussy today, but okay. So any questions again? I know you said you're good. So so this is the reports area. Again, just make sure you're clicking on that exception report. And then, we're pretty much done. So that last thing is number 7. You have this review and finalize. So this is that final option that shows you where, that's what sends this inspection report from this company inspector application onto the website for that final review before it's sent out to any contacts. Now, if you're missing something like something maybe on the location or occupant area, or even if you're missing that return date, then this will be grayed out where you can't select it. So it's just letting you know that something's missing. Okay, so it's in blue, so now that means I can go ahead and finalize it. So once I click that, then this inspection is done. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, guys, so
So
simple 1 through 7, just follow the tabs. It's critical that we get all the information for emergency contacts because this is going to be loaded into our CAD system eventually. So it's critical to update our contacts so the commanders in the truck can have the emergency contact and not have to reach out to dispatch anymore. They can get a hold of the key holders right away. So just FYI, just take the time to get the contacts, please.
Copy that.
Dan Paul?
okay, so that is completing the first inspection from searching through all of your occupants within the database. So the next part is going to be doing an inspection from the schedule. So is everyone okay for us to go through this next example, or do you need a break, coffee break, restroom break?
Station 7's good, proceed.
Continue.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so the next portion is doing an inspection from the schedule. So again, this current inspection are those inspections that you started but not necessarily completed. You didn't click that finalize button, so that's where they end up. Or if you click the, started an inspection but click that exit button, then that's where this ends up at current inspection. So this time we're going to go ahead to the schedule. So you can get there from, back from the main menu or from the hamburger menu and inspection schedule. It's the same thing. So the schedule is a little bit different because you kind of have to know where the inspections lie on the schedule. Now, your department is going to have them kind of put, I believe, 3 days throughout the year, so it'll be a little bit easier for you to be able to tell where to go for the inspections. But if you don't know where to move the inspections, you would, or to kind of go through the schedule, because it just gives you a couple days, that it filters or shows you. So if you go into click on the month, you can, click in the drop down to select the month that you're looking for. Where are my other schedules? Inspections. You can also, let me take a look, because where are they? Give me just 1 second, sorry. No, because yesterday when I removed the testing addresses, it didn't date back to the schedule. So I'm just going to move these around just a little bit, because if you're following along, it'll make it a little bit easier for you to find them. So I'm going to put them on today's date. Okay. Okay, so I just kind of refresh the schedule just to make sure that everything is on today's date. So if I go to October now, which some of these are unassigned to. So, okay, so this is a good example too, because some of the inspections are assigned to me, and so that's why it's just showing the 2. So if I click on this little filter icon too, and just kind of clear this out, then I get more of the results. Okay, so just be mindful of your filters. So if when I go to the, the 6. Okay, so this example is going to be working on our building A, so 99997. Mine is going to be on Grimes, and then if you're following along with me, you can work on Grimes or the Testing Street. There's an apartment building that I created for that. So again, it's going to be kind of the same process. It's just a little bit different as far as how to get to the inspection to start it. But once we get there, it's the same thing. So once you find it, again, you click that start button. My computer's going a little bit slow. And then it's going to give us that prompt again just to make sure that this is still the occupant there. So I'm going to say yes. Here I get to select my name. You can select which applies to you. But I'm going to find my name and then continue. Now here it does put in my inspection type as company inspection. You'll just want to make sure that it may kind of flag you if it doesn't put it in there. So just kind of be aware again, those burgundy bolder areas are required fields. So again, you can update that location or structure information, any information that applies. And it looks exactly the same. So, and also this area, this building and structure name, sometimes it may not have a name, but it is a required field. So once you try to leave this page, it may prompt you to say you're missing something. So if it was blank and it didn't have anything, you could go to this actions and then say use unnamed, or you can type it in there, either way. But just kind of as a heads up, because on the website it's not a required field, but on this company inspector it is. So you'll have to make sure that there is a structure name in there. So if I wanted to update in this information, I could. I have a web pipe system here. Once I'm done, with updating this information, I could go ahead and save it. And next screen. Again, we have the contact, so you'll want to make sure that you have a contact here to set to receive the inspection report once it's submitted. So again, same thing that we went through before. Once we go to the checklist, now here's where we can cite our violations again. So let's say we're in an apartment building and let's see which one we'll say now. So we can use that one that there's some rubbish that's not being stored correctly. That's in 304, chapter 3. So maybe 304.2, there's a violation there. We weren't sure what the code said. We could click on that view option, and then it would show us the full text of the code. So let's say we wanted to cite that. We could go ahead and fail that option. Again, you can attach any pictures, take a picture. Exit out. Insert any comments. Now this is one that does not have a template comment, so you see that it's grayed out there. But you still can enter a comment that if you, if you wanted to. I can also insert that full text. Then maybe that the rubbish must be removed. Once I'm done with that, I can go ahead and save it. And I've cited that violation. So let's say that there is an issue with their doors. The swinging fire doors do not operate correctly. Where would we go for that?
Means of egress.
Means of egress.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize I was muted. So where would we go if there is an issue with the address? Maybe it's not, maybe a number is missing, or it's you can't see it from the street, or will we go to cite that violation?
General requirements.
Okay. Anyone else want to take a stab at it? So this particular code is in chapter 505.1, the address identification. So if I click view, I can see the full text of it. And so we could use this one to cite the address. And again, I do have like a little sheet of all of your short lists, so that's how I know. Okay, so let's go ahead and cite that one. You can fill this item. Again, you can insert any pictures. Save. Exit out. I can insert the full text. And then if I wanted to insert a template comment, I can see that this is there. So I could insert that if that applied. And there it is. Then I could go ahead and save it. So now we have our 3 violations there. Okay. Since we have violations, when we have violations, what is the one thing that's required for violations? Remember, when you have violations set, you do have to have a reinspection date. And then it will prompt you, though, if you forget to put that in there, it will prompt you to let you know that you're missing something. So I'm just going to clear this out just so that you can see. If I wanted to leave, I wanted to capture the signatures, I could. But if I didn't have that reinspection date in there, this is grayed out, so it's letting me know that the finalize is not available, and it will let me know that there are violations but no reinspection date set. So it will let you know what you're missing for the most part if that finalize option isn't there. So I can go back, set my reinspection date, save the next screen. I have my signature there. I can look at the report. And again, which report would I be clicking on? Which one is set for your department? So which one would you show your contact?
Guys, she's asking a question. Freaking children on A shift.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Pull a full inspection report.
The full inspection report?
No, exception report.
Got it. Perfect. Yep. We would go to the exception report. And so it does allow you to see the other reports. It's just that's not the one that they're going to see. Well, that's not the one that's going to be emailed to them. So that's really the thing about it. It just, if you show them the report that you actually send them, it's going to look a little bit different. So the exception report is the report that just have only the failed items there. The exception report with full text, it shows you all of your failed items as well as the full text of the code, full text for that particular violation. And then the full inspection report will show you all your pass, fail, and NA items, but it doesn't have the full text. So that's the difference between the 3. But it will send out the exception report. Okay. Any questions with the difference between the 3?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So once you finish looking at the reports, if you show the person there, your contact report, then you can go ahead and finalize that inspection. And again, that's what removes it from the app, sends it to the web for final review for the admin. Okay. So we just did an inspection from the schedule, and we also done an inspection by searching through all of your occupants. Okay. So it's 3 o'clock. So before we do the exercise with completing an inspection of the occupant turnover, actually. So if that case that we were talking about where, you get there and you realize that space is vacant, how to handle that, we're going to go into that next. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break, okay? And so I'll see you back at, well, it'll be 2:15 your time. Sounds good?
Yes, ma'am.
We're ready, Miss Candace.
Station 7 by. Station 9 is there.
Well, I need it. I said, I know we talked about that, but you can't just be going in because it's a warm up going out next time or in the next unit. He's got a
Thank
firearm.
you.
He's just gonna pull it out without asking.
So,
There you go.
what we have left, are there any questions before we get
Ultimately,
going?
if it goes way up, he's gonna win. I said, but he's also not going to because he's supposed to ask us before he pulls his shit. Shit, I said, you know what? I'm calling fucking BK. I'm gonna let him
No,
make the
ma'am.
decision. If I gotta fucking tuck my tail between my legs on this one, fine. But this is fucking bullshit. Called him. He was on
Alrighty.
meeting, so
Okay,
he's fucking
so,
sat out there.
what we have
Sitting out
left
there,
is
sitting out there.
working through occupant turnover.
I said, you gonna have more? He said, yeah,
Okay.
I got more stuff going on. I was like, fuck you. I said, I really wasn't trying to start off like this. I
Thank
said,
you.
but you kind of went there.
And
I
then
really think it's because you got
How to
busted.
complete re-inspection. So we don't really have very
you know,
much
whatever.
left to go over. But I will after
I
we're
was coming
done.
here to say,
I'll give
hey,
you like the help desk because I
y'all
do
did
work on the
pull
help
it.
desk too. So I'll give you the
don't
help
do
desk
that, you get
number.
with us next time,
Right now,
blah,
all
blah.
the
Then you
phone
start
calls
off
go
with
to the same number.
So I
Like
got the
we just
52.
kind of,
I was like, let's just
just
fucking
kind of go to
squash it.
all of us. So
From now
if
on,
you have a
you let me
question or
know.
anything, you
Because
can
here,
give the
you
help
don't
desk a
need-
call. You can.
but you gotta
If
let
I
us know.
don't answer, you
Because
can
who's
feel
to say
free
you
to
don't
talk
pull
to
something
whoever
you're not
answers.
supposed to?
If you want to talk to
He's
me
like, all right,
specifically, you can
So
ask for me and they'll transfer you to me.
It's a lot. I
And
was
I'll
there
also
for
give you
over
the help
fucking
desk email
hour.
and my
But
personal email. So if it's
that's
something you want to ask me directly,
journal.
you can feel free to email me. If it's something that anybody on the help desk can answer, or you don't mind speaking to anyone on the help desk, you can feel free to email the help desk in general. So I'll be sure to give you that information too,
And then he made a
because I know it
comment
can be a
about
little
that.
bit different when you're watching
So
me
now I was like,
versus
okay. But as soon as BK did call
actually
back, he said, yeah,
when you
my
actually
mom
start to
had
work on
flower
it.
shops.
So you
Yeah,
may have some
yeah,
questions.
they
So
bring
feel
them
free to reach
They're
out
always
if you
bitching
have
about
any
being an
questions.
asshole and doing this.
Okay, so the next part is occupant turnover.
And he did say, yeah,
Which
they're
did
vegan,
I?
so they think they can just do whatever the fuck
I
they
don't
want.
know if
Okay.
one second, 'cause I think when I did my change the from the yesterday's class, I'm not sure if I unretired that occupant. Just one second, because I just want to make sure. And then where's the other deli? Oh, yeah, Golfer's Deli is still there. Okay. So, so this is kind of like you're working off of. Let me go back. Sorry, I'm trying to manage both of these screens and make sure I'm not working. No, I'm doing. So, okay, so this is pretty much you're working in your schedule, and you're looking for this deli. So you go to the deli. I have this deli here. Where's my other deli? Which the deli's probably on a different date. Okay, so now let's go back. I'm going to say done just so I can get back in there. So inspection schedule. So you have the deli. So if you're kind of following along with me on the schedule, it should be scheduled for today's date. Okay, and then I also have my Jade's Deli here on my. I'm not sure who changed my name. Somewhere Burns. So I'm going to be working on that. So pretty much what I'm going to do is, so I go to the location, I'm ready to do the inspection, but I realize the occupant is no longer there. The space is vacant. So I would start the inspection, click that button, but once I get that prompt that says, does it still occupy the suite, I'm going to say no. Then I get to say what is the occupant there now, the name of the occupant there now. So because we're saying that this occupant is vacant, I can go ahead and just say that it's vacant. Continue. I'm going to go ahead and select my name as the inspector and continue. Now, once we do this with the new occupant, we're having new occupant, vacant occupant. So it doesn't have the inspection type, so you'll want to make sure you select that. And then when I scroll down to the bottom, the structure information is going to be the same based off of what was entered there previously. But for the occupant information, that's going to be blank because now this is a new occupant. So once we said it was vacant, it'll automatically put in a property use type that's been defined, which is fine in this case. Okay? So let's say that we're not able to get in the building. So we just have our vacant occupant name, and we have that it's undefined. So we can go ahead and save and next screen. So it looks the same. It just kind of gives you that prompt to say, it's not there. So you enter the occupant name. Okay. So here, maybe there aren't any contacts there. The person's not there. It's vacant. So you can, if there is someone there or a way to enter the contact, like the contact there, you can feel free to go ahead and do so. But if not, you're not able to enter the building, maybe it's empty, then you keep going. And so for the checklist, we're going to say that we didn't find anything, we weren't able to access the building. Okay. So then we could go straight to the return date and comments. So when we're here, you can see that that reinspection date, it says it's an NA there, and it says 0 violations, no return date required. Okay. So in the general comments, I can say unable to access building, and that's perfectly fine to do that. And it also gives a note to the admin, to let them know that the Jake's Deli was retired, so and replaced with this new occupant. So that's what that is. So letting you know on this area. Once you enter that information, you can go and say save the next screen. So if the person isn't there, you don't have to capture a signature if that responsible party isn't there, but I can still sign my name. And then save signature. Okay. And then this time the reports is going to look a little bit different. So when I look at the exception report, it's going to say that you passed your inspection, no violations. Okay. I still have my unable to access, and I have my signature there. So this is kind of like just a no violations text that's found on the website. So just kind of put in there when you don't cite any violations. Okay. So again, that's working off the schedule. Once you go to the occupant, click on the start button, and then when it says, do they still occupy that suite, and you say no. And then you can enter that occupant's name and kind of go from there, but it looks exactly the same. Okay. So does that make sense? Are there any questions with that? How to handle an occupant turnover?
No, ma'am, no questions. No questions. No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that is the occupant turnover. So pretty much still the same thing, except you're just saying that the occupant no longer occupies that space. Okay, and so exercise 6, it was determined that you're not going to be going to the website to edit an inspection. So if you do have something where you need the inspection, like you finalize the inspection, but you realize you need to make a change to it, then you want to reach out to your admin. You want to reach out to your admin for that change, okay? So that exercise 6, we're going to skip that because you won't. That was just kind of determined by the department. You don't. So just make sure you reach out to that admin if you need to make a change. So we're going to skip exercise 6. And then exercise 7 is completing re-inspections. Okay, so in order to do that, what I have to do first is I have to commit those inspections, commit an inspection. That way, because you can't do a re-inspection until after that inspection has been committed. So just give me 1 second, and I'm going to do that now. If you do have any questions while I'm doing that, then feel free to let me know. But it'll just take me a second.
No questions.
Thank you. Okay, so I just committed one of the Walmart inspections, and I should be getting an email shortly to let me know that And I just wanted to show you what that email would look like. Okay, here it is. Okay, so once the inspection report is emailed to your contact, this is pretty much what it's going to look like. It'll give the name of your fire department, and then the inspection results for the name of the occupant and the address. Okay, so it does give you, this is pretty much how this looks. And then the occupant contact would have to actually click on the link within the email to view that report. So once they do that, then they'll be able to see the inspection report. Okay, and so on the site does keep track of if the contact actually clicks on the link, not just open the inspection report. So that part is pretty good too, because if a contact said they never received it, it can, looking at that email tracking tool, will let them know, let you all know that they did not only just open the inspection report, but actually clicked on the link within the email to view the report. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions with that?
No questions.
I know that's pretty simple, but I just want to make sure. I know it's a little bit different when we're not in person, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so now when you're ready to go ahead and do your reinspection, so let's say I'm back on the application, I can go to the inspection schedule. But see, remember the reinspection date, like the date range is a little bit, it's limited. So I would click on this, the actual calendar, and then push that date out to find my reinspection. So once I do that, because I did set my reinspection for the 22nd, so it lets me know that it's a reinspect and which number it is, and then I can go ahead and click start. So now when you do the re-inspections, it's a little bit different because you're not updating any pre-planned information, no location or structure information. You're just pretty much working through this series. So you still can edit the contacts if you needed to. You still can do that. For the violations, though, like it no longer says checklist, it says violations. So it lets me know that, I have 2 violations here. If the inspection, if I want to, if they cleared it, they fixed it, I could go ahead and check that box, say that they cleared it. If they didn't, I could still leave that unchecked as far as the cleared box. I could click on this little, on the little legal pad icon, and I can include the comments, bring forth those comments from the previous inspection. So when it says it up here, from the inspection number 1, I could insert that so I don't have to type it all over, and just so that this will show up on the re-inspection too. You don't have to insert your previous comments, but if you want to, you just click on that little legal pad icon, and then you can insert that comment there. Okay. You can also take pictures if you still want to include new pictures. You still can do that. You can still insert text, your own new text if you wanted to. But you can bring forth those comments from the previous inspection. Okay. Once I do that, I just save it. And I'm not sure why I saved it so long. Or if I'm just being impatient. Oh, it looks like someone else is in this inspection too. So now that's probably what's throwing it out. Okay, So you can do that. I know it's kind of messing it up a little bit just because we're in some of the same, we're in the same, some of us are in the same, exact same inspection, so it's kind of throwing it off a little bit. But you can insert those comments, okay, if you want to bring them, for them to appear. If you don't put those comments on there, it's still going to show that there's a violation, but it's not going to show the comments. So you do want to make sure you put that in there if you want the inspection report to include the comments that you put during the past inspection. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am, it does. Yes.
Okay, so thank you. And so once you have your violations, if you still have an open violation, like so, let's say they cleared one, but one is still an issue, you still have to have a return date. So now you need to set a new reinspection date. Okay, and obviously it would be different dates on there once it's, once you're doing this in reality, it's not going to be all the same dates like now. But I'll just show you what this looks like. So when I go to the reports this time, it will let me know that this particular violation was cleared and give me the date, and then this one is still open. Okay, shows you the reinspection date too, and then on the inspection date up here, it'll tell you which inspection type. So if you had, if this was a second reinspection, it will tell you, which reinspection it is, the initial inspection type, the initial inspection date, and then the date of this particular reinspection. Okay, so a little bit different, but still pretty cool. I like that it tells you that it was there, let you know what was on the inspection before. And if you had like multiple reinspection, and let's say this one was cleared on one day and this one was cleared on another, it will still tell you those dates. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. And so once you complete the inspection, you still do the same thing with finalizing the inspection. And then that's it. It sends it up to you. I had that final review before it's sent out to those contacts. And then that's it. Okay. So with the process that we went over how to complete an inspection from searching through all of your occupants, how to complete an inspection from the schedule, how to handle an occupant that's on your schedule and they're no longer there, when they're vacant, so occupant turnover, and then how to complete a reinspection. So we went over all of those things.